स्टडी IQ IAS, अब तैयारी हुई अफोर्डेबल।
Welcome to StudyIQ's initiative, the podcast. I am your host, Dipansh Murjani. So tighten your belts because it is time for the podcast of the day. Last few of the podcasts have been all about federalism. And in this episode, we are going to start fresh with President of India. Sir, can you give us some basic information related to President which becomes quite important for our exam?
The President of India is head of the state and he is also called the first citizen of India. He is also a part of Union Executive and the matters related to President are dealt under Article 52 to 62. Under these articles, information on how a President is elected, his powers and his functions and also his impeachment process is given. He is a symbol of solidarity, unity and integrity of the nation. He is also a part of Union Executive along with the Vice President, Prime Minister, Council of Ministers and Attorney General of India.
Sir, can you make us aware on procedure for the post of election to President of India?
For simple understanding for students, the President's election is not in the form of direct election as other elections proceeds in India. An electoral college elects the President through indirect election. The electoral college is responsible for President's election comprises some elected members which are listed as number 1, elected members of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Number 2, elected members of legislative assemblies of the states. And number 3, elected members of legislative assembly of the union territories of Delhi and Puducherry. Now we will understand who does not take part in President's election. So number 1, when the members are nominated of Rajya Sabha. And number 2, nominated members of state legislative assembly. Number 3, members of legislative council. Whether they are both elected or nominated does not matter. Number 4, nominated members of union territories of Delhi and Puducherry also cannot take part in President's election.
Sir, we have seen that in case of a dispute in an election, Election Commission of India or the State Election Commission resolves the disputes. But in case of election of President, who resolves the disputes?
Any dispute related to President's election is taken up by Supreme Court. Supreme Court's decision in this matter is considered to be a final one. After the election of President declared null and void, the acts done by the President in the office remain valid after his removal also.
Sir, can you throw some light on term of the office of President?
Office of President is elected. He holds office for 5 years. He sits in the office even after the completion of 5 years, given no new election has taken place or no new president has been elected till then. He can also be re-elected and there is no cap on his re-elections like we have seen in US's presidents.
Sir, we are curious to know what are the qualifications for a candidate to become the President of India?
A candidate has to meet some qualification and eligibility criteria for President's election. Number first is that he should be an Indian citizen. Number second, that his age should be a minimum of 35 years. Number 3, he should qualify the conditions to be elected as a member of Lok Sabha. Number 4, he should not hold any office of profit under the central government, state government or any other public authority.
Sir, apart from these qualifications, are there any conditions which are necessary for the President of India?
There are few conditions for the candidate running for the elections of President. Number 1, he cannot be a member of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. If he has been a member of either of the houses, he should vacate the seat on his first day as a president in the office. He should not hold any office of profit as I have already mentioned. For his residence, Rashtrapati Bhavan is provided to him without paying any rent. Number 4. Parliament decides his emoluments, allowances, and also after deciding all his allowances and privileges, Parliament cannot diminish it when the term of his office is going on. Number 6 is that he is given immunity from any criminal proceedings, even in respect of his personal acts. Arrest or imprisonment of the president cannot take place. Only civil proceedings can be initiated for his personal acts, that too after giving 2 months of prior notice.
Sir, while studying, students often get confused for impeachment process. So, can you explain to us the procedure of impeachment of Indian President in simple words?
The only condition for the initiation of impeachment of Indian President is the violation of the Constitution. However, there is no definition in Indian Constitution that what is that violation of Constitution. The charges of impeachment can be brought up by either of the House in the Parliament, either done by Lok Sabha or by Rajya Sabha. These charges must be signed by 1/4 of members of House, and the President must be given 14 days notice prior to it. After the impeachment, resolution is passed by a 2/3 majority of the total membership of that House. It is sent to the other House, which is responsible for investigation of those charges for impeachment. Such an investigation, the President has the right to appear and to be present in the House. If the other House also upholds the charges and passes the impeachment resolution by a 2/3 vote of total membership, the President is removed from his office as on the date of the resolution is passed. As a result, impeachment is a quasi-judicial procedure in Parliament. There are 2 things should be noted. Number 1, nominated members of either House of Parliament can also participate in the impeachment process of President. However, they do not participate in the election process of the President. Second point to be noted is that as elected members of legislative assemblies of state participate in the election process, however, they do not participate in the impeachment process of President.
Sir, as you had mentioned that President of India is the head of the state, he is a symbol of India's integrity. So we want to know, are there any conditions under which office of President can be vacant?
Yes, his office can be vacant in following some ways. The ways can be when the President of India completes his term of 5 years in the office. Number 2 is that when if the President resigns by putting forward his resignation to the Vice President of India. Number 3, if Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha initiates an impeachment charge and they stand valid, that he is removed. And if he dies in the office. And number 5, if the Supreme Court declares his election is invalid, then on all those 5 conditions, President office can be seen as vacant. However, there is one note we need to remember: when Vice President discharges the duties as President, if the latter's office falls vacant in the circumstances mentioned above, like the 5 conditions I have told, except when the term of the President gets expired. As per the President's Act 1969, if the Vice President's office is vacant too, Chief Justice of India will assume the duties of President. And if the CJI is not available, then the senior most judge of Supreme Court will assume the charge. This way we've tried to understand the powers of President and its limitations of President.
Sir, thank you for giving us the information. Dear listeners, we will call it quits for this episode of the podcast. In the next episode, we will be back soon with another topic. Till then, stay connected with StudyIQ and keep studying. You can listen to StudyIQ Presents the podcast on various audio streaming platforms such as Spotify, Hubhopper, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Kuku FM, etc. Links are pinned in the comment section below. Thank you.